How you guys doing? This is your 3B notes, the video that goes along with your Mesopotamia notes. And here we go. Mesopotamia means the land between the rivers. The two rivers in specific, guys, are the Tigris River to the north and a little bit to the east, and the Euphrates River to the south and the west. I'll remind you guys, you can pause these videos anytime you want if you need to write. I'm going to keep moving though. Alright. A couple geographical notes. The rivers flooded at least once per year. The flooding was relatively unpredictable. It would happen at random times, and that there would be long periods of little rain. Remember, this region is partially desert. When the floods happened, they would leave behind very fertile soil, which would be good for farming. They managed to grow wheat and barley on this fertile soil. Wheat and barley obviously used to make bread. There were no natural barriers here to protect from invasion aside from the rivers. There was also scarce natural resources. So aside from the access to the water, they don't have a whole lot in Mesopotamia, just the rivers. So Mesopotamians had to innovate in order to survive. Some of their main innovations that they were able to come up with is irrigation, which helped them move water from rivers to the fields. So instead of filling up a bucket and having to carry the water to water their plants, they dug trenches which allowed the water to move from the rivers to the fields where they were growing their crops. They created mud bricks with which to build walls around the cities. They didn't have large stone quarries like the Egyptians had to build their pyramids, so they had to make bricks, mud bricks, to build walls. They actually traded grain, cloth, and tools with neighboring people for natural resources. So some of the stuff that they had created, they would turn around and trade with their neighbors, and they would use that to get natural resources. Another one of their innovations is they do develop a form of written language that is known as cuneiform. We are able to translate some cuneiform now. It took us a while. We had to find the Rosetta Stone. We also have advancements in geometry and architecture. Big one here, the development of the wheel is credited to Mesopotamian civilization. And we have the first use of bronze tools. This down here is an example of cuneiform. And then the bronze tools are a big thing because bronze tools require less repair than stone tools. It allows our tools to spend more time being used and less time being worked on. It allows our farming and stuff to become more efficient so we can get more done. Helps lead to that surplus that we talked about last time. Social structure and government. They were organized into city-states, small countries usually centered around one city. I'm going to flip back to the map real fast. If you look here, so instead of having one Mesopotamia, we would have the city-state of Babylon, of Assur, of Nineveh, Uruk, Eridu, all their own individual city-states. So small little countries governed on their own. The ziggurat was a place of worship and a city hall. And the ziggurat was that big pyramidal looking thing that was on the first slide here. Alright, it's a place of worship and city hall. Mesopotamian kings were viewed as representatives of the gods. Not quite gods down on earth, but they were there as God's messengers. And they had a very strict social order. Kings and priests at the top, then merchants, then we had soldiers and large landowners, then commoners, and then finally at the bottom, slaves. And that's going to bring us to Hammurabi. Hammurabi is, we're not sure when he was born, to about the year of 1750. He is the king of Babylon. His people, the Amorites, invade Mesopotamia around 2000 BCE and are eventually going to overtake the Sumerians. After the Amorites are overwhelmed of Mesopotamia, they establish their capital at the city of Babylon. Hammurabi is significant because he is a military leader, he's a diplomat, he's an administrator of a vast empire, and most importantly, he is the lawgiver. He is the one who writes the laws. Now, remember, an empire brings together several peoples, nations, or Sorry about that. You know how afternoons can be around here. All right, so an empire brings together several peoples, nations, or previous independent states under the control of one ruler. So an empire, instead of being our individual city-states, might be one of those city-states getting really strong and conquering all of the other ones. So that one city-state has power. That's what happens in Mesopotamia with the Babylonians. And so Hammurabi is the king of Babylon, which is an empire in Mesopotamia. And then Hammurabi thought that a single uniform law code would help unify the diverse groups in the new Babylonian Empire. So we've got lots of different people from different city-states, all unified under one rule, and he's trying to think of ways to ease the peace to keep them from revolting against his rule, and he thinks that a way to do this is a uniform code of laws. This is a theme that we're going to see repeated when we talk about other empires throughout the year. But just keep that in mind. So Hammurabi's law code is one of our first law codes. It's engraved into stone with copies placed all over the empire. There are 282 very specific laws. And these were, when I say engraved in stone, I mean they were literally carved into stone and they were put in the middle of the town square for all to see. There was no doubt. All right, and these laws address things like family relations, business conduct, crime, property, all of the above. It protects women and children from unfair treatment. And there are different punishments for rich, poor, male, and female. So it's not a one-size-fits-all punishment system. There's a little bit of a difference. The purpose of the code, according to Hammurabi, was to bring about the rule of righteousness in the land, to destroy the wicked and the evildoers, so that the strong should not harm the weak. Decent goals, all in all. And that's going to be all for this video. Let me give you a quick preview as to what Hammurabi's code looks like, as we are going to do an activity in class relating to this. But here you go, just a couple examples for you. If anyone is committing robbery and is caught, he shall be put to death. If a son strikes his father, his hand shall be hewn off. If a man knock out the teeth of his equal, his teeth shall be knocked out. So, while Hammurabi's code was maybe a little bit crazy, it is significant because it's one of our first law codes, and you need to know that. Okay? And that's everything, guys.